They say you can measure a man by the company he keeps. Marcus Donovan kept experts, 25 of them, each one handpicked from the darkest corners of the intelligence community. Former NSA cryptographers who sold secrets to the highest bidder. Military hackers dishonorably discharged for reasons the Pentagon refused to discuss. Mathematical geniuses banned from 3 continents for crimes involving numbers most people could not even pronounce. For 48 hours, these men had been locked inside the back room of the Velvet Lounge in Chicago. The air conditioning could not keep up with the heat from the server racks. The ventilation system pumped fresh oxygen every 20 minutes, but it still smelled like fear. Stale cigar smoke clung to the mahogany walls, the scent of expensive cologne mixed with cheap coffee and desperation. On the main monitor, a grid of symbols mocked them. 8 rows, 8 columns, 64 characters that refused to make sense. Letters where numbers should be. Numbers where symbols should be. Patterns that appeared and disappeared like ghosts. Every time they entered a wrong sequence, the algorithm rewrote itself. The lock became smarter. They became dumber. The countdown timer glowed red in the darkness. 47 minutes and 18 seconds remained. 47 minutes until $3 billion vanished into the digital void. 47 minutes until the blackmail material on senators and judges and police captains disappeared forever. 47 minutes until the reserves hidden in offshore accounts became inaccessible. 47 minutes until the Donovan empire crumbled. And Marcus Donovan sat at the head of the table, watching it all happen with the calm of a man who had seen worse things than failure. He was 32 years old. He wore a charcoal suit tailored in Milan that cost more than most cars. The fabric moved with him like a second skin. His shoulders were broad from years of boxing in the underground rings where men fought without gloves, and the only rule was survival. His hands looked like they belonged to a pianist, but they had broken bones and necks with equal precision. His face was the kind that made women stare and men look away. Sharp jaw, ice blue eyes, the kind of symmetry that seemed designed by something beyond genetics. But tonight, Marcus Donovan was losing. And he hated losing more than he hated anything else in this world. Dr. Victor Reeves stood beside the monitor, his bald head reflecting the screen's glow. Sweat dripped from his forehead despite the air conditioning. His hands shook as he wiped his face with a monogrammed handkerchief. He had been the lead cryptographer for the National Security Agency until he got caught selling encryption keys to the Chinese. Now he worked for people like Marcus Donovan, people who paid in cash and expected results. Mr. Donovan. Victor's voice cracked. His accent still carried traces of Kiev despite 30 years in America. This is not standard encryption. Your father, may he rest, he did not use normal methods. This is polymorphic. It changes. Every wrong answer makes it stronger. We have tried Fibonacci sequences. We have tried Enigma variations. We ran it through artificial intelligence protocols that cost more than my house. It is mathematically impossible without the physical key. Marcus lit a cigarette. The flame from his lighter illuminated his face for a moment. The shadows made him look older, tired, human. My father, Marcus said, his voice quiet in the way that made dangerous men nervous, could not turn on a computer until 2008. He wrote everything in a leather notebook with a fountain pen he bought in Florence in 1993. He did not know what polymorphic meant. He barely knew what email meant. Marcus stood up. The movement was fluid, predatory. Every man in the room went still. You are overthinking this because you are arrogant. You think the answer has to be complicated because you are complicated. You think it requires genius because you consider yourself a genius. But my father was not a genius. He was a bootlegger who liked opera and boxing. He trusted 2 things, his instincts and his family. Marcus walked toward the screen. His reflection appeared in the monitor, superimposed over the unsolved cipher. For a moment, it looked like he was inside the code, part of the puzzle. Trapped. Get out, Marcus said. All of you, take a break, get coffee, clear your heads. Come back in 10 minutes with fresh perspectives. Or do not come back at all. Victor opened his mouth to protest. Marcus turned and looked at him, just looked. Victor closed his mouth. He nodded, scrambled toward the door. The other experts followed like rats abandoning a sinking ship. Even the armed guards stepped outside, sensing that their boss needed space more than protection. The heavy soundproof door closed with a pneumatic hiss. Silence filled the room. Marcus stood alone with his second-in-command, a man named Garrett, who had the size and temperament of a Rottweiler bred for war. Boss, Garrett's voice was low, we are running out of time. The commission meets tomorrow morning. If we lose the ledger, the Russians move on the south side by noon. The Italians take the docks by evening. Everything your father built. Gone. Marcus rubbed his temples. He had not slept in 72 hours. His eyes burned. His head throbbed. He needed caffeine. He needed silence. He needed a moment to think without the sound of keyboards clicking and men arguing about algorithms he did not understand and did not care about. Let's go to the front, Marcus said. I need coffee that has not been sitting in this room for 6 hours. The front, sir? Garrett's tone suggested concern. We should stay secure. I own the building, Garrett. Every brick, every light bulb, every person inside these walls answers to me. I think I can walk 30 feet to my own bar without dying. Marcus pushed through the soundproof doors. The temperature dropped 10 degrees immediately. The main club area was closed. Tuesday afternoon, no customers, no music, no life. Just service lights over the bar and the ghost of last night's party lingering in the air like a memory. That was where he saw her. Elena Hart was 24 years old, and she had perfected the art of being invisible. She wore her dark hair pulled back in a utilitarian bun that emphasized the sharp angles of her face. Cheekbones too prominent, eyes too large, the color of honey mixed with copper. The kind of eyes that seemed to calculate everything they saw. Her uniform hung off a frame that was too thin, not model thin, hungry thin. The kind of thin that came from choosing between groceries and electricity bills and always choosing the bills. She had been working at the Velvet Lounge for 3 months. In that time, she had spoken maybe 50 words to management. Yes, sir. Right away, sir. Sorry about the wait. She wiped tables, polished glasses, refilled ice bins. She was furniture, wallpaper, background noise. But 7 years ago, Elena Hart had been something else entirely. At 16, she had received a full scholarship to the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, theoretical mathematics. Her entrance exam scores broke records. Her recommendations came from professors who used words like prodigy and once in a generation and destined for Fields Medal. She should have been publishing papers by now, teaching at Princeton or Cambridge or Stanford. Her name should have been in journals and on whiteboards in lecture halls around the world. Instead, she was scrubbing dried beer off a mahogany bar in Chicago. Life had other plans. Life always did. Her father, Thomas Hart, had been a brilliant statistician, MIT graduate himself, published author, sought-after consultant for hedge funds and insurance companies who needed someone who could see patterns in chaos. But Thomas Hart had a problem. The same problem that destroyed more brilliant men than any disease or war. He loved gambling, not casual gambling, not weekend poker games with friends. Thomas Hart believed he could beat the system because he understood probability better than anyone else. He calculated odds in his sleep. He saw patterns in roulette wheels and card shuffles. He developed systems and strategies and formulas that should have worked, should have, but the house always wins, not because the house is smarter, because the house does not need to be smart. It just needs to be patient. By the time Elena turned 17, her father owed $347,000 to people who did not accept payment plans or negotiate terms. People who broke fingers as down payments and kneecaps as interest. Elena dropped out of MIT. She worked 3 jobs, 60-hour weeks, 80-hour weeks, gave every penny to debt collectors who had voices like gravel and eyes like winter. Then her father got sick, pancreatic cancer, stage 4. The doctors gave him 6 months. He lasted 8. Every day was agony. Every night was worse. The medical bills piled up faster than Elena could count them. Chemotherapy, radiation, medications with names she could not pronounce, and price tags she could not afford. Insurance covered some of it, most of it, but some might as well have been nothing when you were drowning. Thomas Hart died 6 months ago in a hospice room that smelled like disinfectant and failure. His last words to his daughter were an apology. I am sorry. I am so sorry. 3 words, repeated until his voice gave out. Elena inherited his debts, $42,000 to the hospital, $18,000 to the funeral home, because apparently dying was expensive and being buried was worse. $23,000 spread across credit cards she had opened just to keep the lights on while her father withered away in front of her. She also inherited his mind, the curse and the gift, the ability to see patterns everywhere, in floor tiles and traffic lights and the way customers left tips on tables. Mathematical sequences appeared in her vision like hallucinations, Fibonacci spirals in the grain of wooden bar tops, probability distributions in the scatter of spilled sugar. She could not turn it off, could not make it stop. Her brain had been trained to solve problems, and now it solved problems she did not want solved and answered questions nobody asked. Tonight, the Velvet Lounge was supposed to be empty, but the men in the back room had been working all day. She knew who they were. Everyone in Chicago knew Marcus Donovan. You did not work in this city without knowing the name of the apex predator. Elena was wiping down the bar when the soundproof doors opened. Marcus Donovan walked out. He moved like a storm approaching. All contained energy and potential violence. Garrett followed 3 steps behind, scanning the empty room with eyes that had seen combat and never forgot. Elena kept her head down. Be furniture. Be invisible. Just wipe the wood. You are part of the building. Nothing more. Marcus sat on a bar stool 3 feet from where she worked. He placed a tablet on the counter face up. The screen glowed in the dim light. Coffee, Marcus said. Black. Yes, sir, Elena whispered. Her voice sounded foreign to her own ears, rough from disuse. She turned to the commercial espresso machine that cost more than she made in 6 months. Her hands were steady despite the way her heart hammered against her ribs. She poured the dark liquid into a pristine white cup. No logo, no decoration, just pure function. As she turned back to serve him, her eyes inadvertently brushed across the tablet screen Marcus had thrown down. It was a live feed from the back room, the monitor, the grid, the cipher that had defeated 25 experts. Elena froze just for a fraction of a second, less than a heartbeat. But her brain did that thing it always did, the thing she hated, the thing she could not control. It snapped into focus like a camera shutter closing. On the screen was a grid of 64 characters, letters, numbers, symbols. To most people, it looked like random noise, static, gibberish. To the experts in the back room, it looked like an unsolvable equation, an impossible puzzle designed by a madman. To Elena Hart, it looked like music. The spacing was irregular, not random, deliberate. Space letter, space letter, symbol space. A rhythm. She saw it immediately. Saw it the way a conductor sees a score, or a composer hears a symphony in their head before writing a single note. 4/4 signature, her mind whispered without permission. Not code, rhythm. She set the coffee down in front of Marcus. Her hand did not shake. Muscle memory from 3 months of serving drinks to men who did not see her. Anything else, sir? Her voice came out raspy. Marcus did not look at her. He stared at the tablet screen like it contained answers to questions he had not asked yet. He rubbed his face with both hands. Exhaustion carved lines around his eyes that made him look older than 32. No, Marcus said, just silence. Elena nodded, stepped back. She should have walked away, should have gone to the kitchen, should have done literally anything except stand there staring at a problem that was not hers to solve. But the pattern clawed at her eyes like hooks. Her brain would not let it go. The symbols appeared at intervals of 3 and 4, then rest, then repeat. Not encryption, notation. The percent sign was not a modulo operator. It was a treble clef drawn in ASCII. The ampersand was not a conjunction. It was a tie between notes. The hash symbol was not a number marker. It was a sharp, sheet music written in typewriter characters. The kind of thing a man who loved opera but did not trust computers might create. The kind of cipher designed not to be unbreakable, but to be invisible to people who only saw numbers. Elena opened her mouth to say something, anything. But before she could, the soundproof doors burst open. Dr. Victor Reeves stumbled through, followed by 2 other experts. They were arguing, loud, angry, desperate. It is RSA encryption with a 2048-bit key, one man shouted. His accent was German. His face was red. You are an idiot, Victor yelled back, waving his arms. It is a Vigenère cipher with timestamp-based keyword rotation. We need to map the temporal gradient. Marcus slammed his hand on the bar. The sound cracked through the room like a gunshot. Every person froze mid-breath. I said silence, Marcus roared. His voice filled every corner of the space. Not loud, just absolute. The kind of authority that came from years of being obeyed without question. The experts went silent. Even their breathing seemed to stop. Marcus picked up the tablet, shoved it toward Victor. The older man flinched. Look at this, Marcus said. His voice dropped back to that quiet, dangerous level. You have 36 minutes left. The screen is mocking you. My father was not a mathematician. He was a bootlegger who liked opera and boxing. So tell me, Victor, tell me why there is a percent sign next to the letter Q. Victor squinted at the screen. Sweat dripped into his eyes. It is clearly a syntax error in the code, sir. A decoy. Meaningless noise meant to confuse. Elena was wiping a glass. She could not help it. The words came out before she could stop them. Barely audible. Almost a whisper. It is not a syntax error. It is a rest note. The silence that followed was absolute. Not the silence of peace, the silence of a predator hearing prey move in the dark. Marcus slowly turned his head. He did not look at Victor, did not look at the other experts. He looked directly at Elena. What did you say? His voice was terrifyingly calm. Elena's blood turned to ice water in her veins. Every survival instinct screamed at her to run, to apologize, to disappear. Nothing, sir, she said quickly, eyes down, submissive, invisible. I am sorry, I will go to the kitchen. Stay right there, Marcus commanded. Not a request, an order backed by violence and authority and the absolute certainty of being obeyed. He stood up, walked the 3 steps to where she stood behind the bar. He towered over her, 6'2" to her 5'5". He smelled like expensive cologne and tobacco and something else, something dangerous. You said it is arrest note, Marcus said. Explain, sir. Garrett stepped forward. His hand moved toward the weapon concealed in his jacket. She is just a waitress. She does not know anything. Let me remove her. I am talking to her, Marcus said without breaking eye contact with Elena. His eyes were blue ice, not cold, burning cold, the kind of cold that felt like fire. You looked at the screen. You saw the grid. What did you see? Elena looked up, met his eyes, saw exhaustion, saw intelligence, saw something she did not expect. Curiosity without condescension. He did not dismiss her, did not mock her. He just wanted to know. If she was going to die for speaking out of turn, she might as well be right. The experts are looking for a mathematical formula, Elena said. Her voice gained strength as she spoke. They think the symbols are variables in an equation. They are not. She pointed at the tablet with a finger that shook despite her best efforts. You said your father liked opera. Marcus frowned. Yes, Puccini, Verdi, Wagner. He played recordings on Sunday mornings until the neighbors complained. The grid is 8 by 8, Elena continued, 64 squares, but look at the distribution of symbols. The percent sign, the ampersand, the hash, they appear at intervals of 3, then 4, then rest, then repeat. She grabbed a cocktail napkin from the stack beside the register, grabbed a pen from her apron pocket, did not ask permission, just acted. It is sheet music written in ASCII characters. The way someone who did not trust computers but understood music might hide something. Victor let out a scoffing laugh. Sheet music. That is the most ridiculous thing I have ever heard. Little girl, this is military-grade encryption, not a piano lesson. Shut up, Marcus hissed. He did not raise his voice, did not need to. Victor's mouth snapped closed like a trap. Marcus turned back to Elena. Go on. The cue is not a letter, Elena said. Her mind raced ahead of her words now. Building connections. Seeing patterns. In old typewriter ciphers used during Prohibition, specific keys mapped to musical notation. Bootleggers used them to smuggle messages past federal agents who only look for words and numbers. She slammed the napkin on the bar, drew 5 horizontal lines with rapid strokes, a musical staff. If you treat the grid as a staff, the percent sign is a treble clef. The sequence starts here. She tapped the screen. B-A-C-H. It is a musical motif. But it is transposed. Garrett looked confused. Bach, like the composer? No, Elena said. B-A-C-H is also a sequence of notes. B-flat, A, C, B natural in German notation. But if you shift every letter down by the interval of a major third, which is the opening interval of Tosca, one of Puccini's operas, the letters change. She scribbled on the napkin. Math and music merging into one language. B becomes G, A becomes F, C becomes A, H becomes E. She looked up at Marcus. Her honey-colored eyes met his ice-blue ones. GFAE. Does that mean anything to you? Marcus stared at the napkin. His eyes went wide. The mask of control cracked. Just for a second, just enough. Grandfather First Avenue East, Marcus whispered. No, Victor interrupted. That cannot be right. It is too simple. It has to be a numeric key sequence mapped to coordinate grid. It is not a location, Elena cut him off. Her confidence grew with every word. It is a keypad pattern. She reached for the tablet, hesitated. May I? Marcus did not speak, just nodded once. Elena's fingers hovered over the digital interface. The countdown timer showed 33 minutes and 42 seconds. 33 minutes until everything disappeared. The keypad is numeric, 1 through 9. If you trace the shape of the letters G, F, A, E on a standard telephone keypad like you are writing them, you get a pattern. Her finger moved across the screen. Not typing yet, just showing. G is 4, F is 3, A is 2, E is 3, 4323, she whispered. Stop, Marcus said. He took the tablet from her hands, looked at the countdown. 33 minutes and 18 seconds. He looked at Victor. The expert was shaking his head in disbelief. Denial. Humiliation. Then Marcus looked at Elena. If you are wrong, Marcus said softly, the system wipes everything. $3 billion. Gone. Leverage on senators and judges. Gone. Everything my father built. Erased. I am not wrong, Elena said. She did not know where the confidence came from. Maybe exhaustion, maybe desperation, maybe just being tired of invisible geniuses like Victor thinking they owned truth because they had degrees and she had a stained apron. Your father did not trust computers, Elena continued. He trusted Tosca. He trusted music. Things that made sense to him. Things that felt human. Marcus turned the tablet around. His fingers moved across the screen, typing the sequence Elena had indicated. Not the numbers directly, the pattern, the shape, the rhythm. He hit enter. The screen went black. Garrett drew his weapon. She bricked it. We are locked out permanently. Elena stopped breathing, stopped thinking. The world narrowed to that black screen and the sound of her pulse in her ears. 1 second passed. 2, 3, 4, 5. Then a green line of text appeared. Access granted. Welcome, Marcus. The sound of magnetic locks disengaging echoed through the quiet club. Heavy metal sliding against metal. Doors opening, safes unlocking, the entire security system recognizing its master. Marcus stared at the screen for a long time. The experts gaped, mouths open, eyes wide. Victor looked like he might vomit, or faint, or both. Marcus slowly set the tablet down, turned to Elena. She was hugging her serving tray to her chest, trying to fade back into the background. Trying to become invisible again. What is your name? Marcus asked. Elena, she whispered. Elena Hart. Elena Hart, Marcus repeated, testing the weight of it. The sound. You just did in 60 seconds what 25 men could not do in 2 days. He reached into his jacket, pulled out a money clip, thick with $100 bills. He tossed the entire stack onto the bar. It had to be $5,000, maybe more. Take the night off, Marcus said. Elena stared at the money. More than she made in 4 months. More than her next 3 rent payments. More than the minimum payment on every credit card combined. I cannot take that, Elena said. It is a tip, Marcus replied. He signaled to Garrett. Clear the room. Fire Victor. Fire all of them. Bring the car around. Yes, boss, Garrett said. He holstered his weapon, started moving. Marcus looked at Elena one last time. There was something in his gaze. Not just gratitude. Calculation. Assessment. The way a chess player looks at a piece that changes the entire game. Do not go far, Elena Hart, Marcus said. I have a feeling I am going to have a lot more puzzles for you. He walked toward the back room, toward his empire, toward 3 billion reasons to remember the name Elena Hart. Elena stood there alone, heart pounding, hands shaking, looking at $5,000 in cash like it was a bomb that might explode. She thought it was over. Thought she had won some kind of lottery. Thought she could pay bills and sleep without nightmares, and maybe, just maybe, stop being invisible for a while. She was wrong. She had not just opened a safe. She had opened a door into a world where genius was currency and invisibility was no longer an option. A world where Marcus Donovan noticed you. And once Marcus Donovan noticed you, you could never disappear again. The money sat on the bar, $5,000, freedom, chains, both at once. Elena picked it up with trembling fingers, folded it, put it in her apron pocket, felt the weight of it like an anchor, or wings. She could not tell which. Outside, Chicago rain began to fall. It did not wash anything clean. It never did. It just made the grime slicker, made the streets more dangerous, made the night darker. And somewhere in that darkness, Elena Hart's old life ended. The invisible waitress died. Something else was being born. Something she did not have a name for yet. But Marcus Donovan knew. He had seen it in her eyes, the hunger, the brilliance, the desperation mixed with defiance. He had seen potential, and Marcus Donovan never wasted potential. The Velvet Lounge closed at 2 in the morning. By 2:15, Elena was walking home in the rain. By 2:30, she was sitting at her kitchen table, staring at red letters. Final notice, past due, immediate action required. By 3 o'clock, the $5,000 was gone, swallowed by automatic payments and hungry creditors. The piranhas fed, the water churned, And Elena Hart was back to zero, actually negative $418, because somehow owing money cost money too. She sat there in the dark, yellow wallpaper peeling in the corners, radiator leaking, sirens outside, the city that never slept because it never could afford to. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost did not answer, but something made her pick up. Miss Hart. The voice was familiar. Garrett, Marcus Donovan's personal weapon. Mr. Donovan requires your presence. It is 3 in the morning, Elena said. I am off the clock. You are never off the clock anymore, Garrett replied. Pack a bag. We leave in 20 minutes. Leave for where? Wherever Mr. Donovan tells you to go. 20 minutes, Miss Hart. Do not make him wait. The line went dead. Elena sat there holding her phone, looking at her apartment, her cage, her prison made of debt and poverty and invisible walls. Then she stood up, grabbed her backpack, started packing. Because she knew the truth. Had known it the moment she spoke up at the bar, the moment she solved the puzzle. There was no going back to invisible, no returning to the shadows. Marcus Donovan had seen her, and that changed everything. She did not know where she was going, did not know what came next. But she knew one thing with absolute certainty. Her old life was over. And whatever came next would be anything but invisible. The money lasted exactly 6 hours. Elena sat at her kitchen table at 3 in the morning, watching her bank account balance drop like a stone thrown into deep water. $5,000 deposited at 2:43. By 3:15, the automatic payments had activated like piranhas sensing blood. Funeral home took $1,800. Hospital took $2,100. Credit card minimum payments devoured another $1,200. The water churned, the feeding frenzy ended, and Elena Hart stared at a balance of negative $418. She had gone from rich to broke in the time it took to brush her teeth. The apartment felt smaller than usual, 15 square meters of peeling yellow wallpaper and broken dreams. The mattress on the floor where she slept. The radiator that leaked and clanked but never quite heated the room. The window that looked out onto an alley where rats fought over garbage and sometimes won. This was her kingdom, her cage, the place where genius came to die slowly. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Chicago area code. She stared at it for 3 rings before answering. Miss Hart. The voice belonged to Garrett. Deep, controlled. The sound of a man who hurt people for a living and slept fine afterward. Mr. Donovan requires your presence. It is 3 in the morning, Elena said. Her voice sounded small in the empty apartment. I am off the clock. You are never off the clock anymore, Garrett replied. Pack a bag. We leave in 20 minutes. Leave for where? Wherever Mr. Donovan tells you to go. Elena looked around her apartment, at the bills, at the poverty, at the walls that felt like they were closing in. I need more than 20 minutes, Elena said. You have 15 now. Do not make him wait. The line went dead. Elena sat there for 5 seconds, and 15. Then she moved, grabbed her backpack from under the mattress, threw in clothes, toothbrush, the notebook where she worked through equations when she could not sleep, her father's old MIT keychain, the only thing of his she kept. She did not know where she was going, did not know what came next, but she knew with absolute certainty that her old life had ended the moment she opened her mouth at the Velvet Lounge. Invisibility was no longer an option. The knock came exactly 15 minutes later. Precise, rhythmic, 3 beats. Elena opened the door without checking the peephole. She knew who it would be. Garrett filled the doorway, 6'4", 240 pounds of muscle and scar tissue. He wore a black suit that probably cost more than her entire wardrobe. His face looked like it had been carved from granite by someone who got bored halfway through. Ready? Garrett asked. No, Elena said, but I am coming anyway. Smart girl. They walked down 4 flights of stairs because the elevator had been broken for 2 months, out into the Chicago night where rain fell in sheets and the street lights cast everything in sodium orange. A black SUV idled at the curb. Windows tinted so dark they looked like mirrors. Garrett opened the back door. Elena hesitated for just a moment. Once she got in that car, there would be no going back. She knew that, felt it in her bones. She got in anyway. Marcus Donovan sat in the far seat. He had changed clothes, different suit, charcoal gray instead of black, but the same predatory stillness, the same ice blue eyes that saw too much. Miss Hart, Marcus said. He did not smile, did not offer pleasantries, just looked at her with that calculating gaze. We are going to New York. Why? Because the cipher you unlocked was not the end. It was a key, a map to physical locations. The first coordinate points to East Hampton. A property my father built in the 90s and never used. And you need me because I do not trust experts anymore. I trusted 25 of them and they failed. You succeeded. That makes you valuable. And I do not let valuable assets walk away. I am not an asset, Elena said. Her voice had more strength than she felt. I am a person. You are both, Marcus replied. He handed her a phone. New, expensive, probably cost more than her rent. This is yours now. Your old number is disconnected. Your old life is over. You work for me now. I did not agree to that. Marcus looked at her, really looked. Not the way men usually looked at her, not with lust or dismissal. With assessment, like she was a chess piece and he was deciding where to place her on the board. Your father owed $347,000 when he died. You inherited that debt. You have been working 3 jobs for 6 years trying to pay it off. At your current rate, you will be 74 years old when you make the final payment, if you live that long. He pulled out a tablet, showed her a bank statement. Her bank statement. Every transaction, every overdraft fee, every desperate choice between food and electricity. I can make that disappear tonight, Marcus said. All of it. Hospital, funeral home, credit cards. Every predatory lender who has been bleeding you dry. Gone. Elena stared at the screen. At numbers that represented years of her life. Decades of suffering. What do you want in return, she asked. Your brain, Marcus said simply. Your ability to see patterns. To solve puzzles. To unlock doors that other people cannot even see. For how long? As long as I need you. And if I say no, then I drop you back at your apartment and you go back to being invisible. Back to serving coffee to people who do not see you. Back to drowning slowly in debt until it kills you. He leaned forward, close enough that she could smell tobacco and expensive cologne. Or you can come with me, see the world. Use that genius for something other than calculating tip percentages. Be someone other than the ghost who wipes tables. Elena looked out the window. Rain streaked the glass. Chicago passed by in blurs of light and shadow. The city that had taken everything from her and given nothing back. $20,000 a month, Elena said. Plus you clear the debt, plus expenses. Marcus smiled. First real smile she had seen. It transformed his face, made him look younger, almost human. Deal, he said. The SUV drove through empty streets to a private airfield on the edge of the city. Not O'Hare, somewhere smaller. Somewhere people like Marcus Donovan kept jets that did not appear on commercial flight logs. The plane was a Gulfstream, long and sleek and expensive in a way that hurt to look at. Elena had never been on a plane before, not even coach, not even once. She climbed the stairs on shaking legs, stepped into a cabin that looked like a luxury hotel room with wings. Cream leather seats, mahogany tables, carpets so thick her shoes sank into it. Sit anywhere, Marcus said. Flight time is about 90 minutes. Elena chose a seat by the window. Buckled herself in with hands that would not stop trembling. The engine spooled up with a sound like controlled thunder. The plane rolled forward, faster, faster. Then the ground fell away, and Chicago became a grid of lights below. She pressed her forehead against the window, watched the city shrink, watched her old life disappear into darkness. Marcus sat across from her. He had a laptop open, documents glowing on the screen. He typed with 2 fingers, but fast, precise, like everything else he did. Stop thinking so loud, Marcus said without looking up. I am not saying anything, Elena replied. You are vibrating with anxiety. It is distracting. Sorry, do not apologize. Just breathe. Drink water. We land at Teterboro in 70 minutes, then helicopter to the Hamptons. Helicopter, Elena repeated. The word felt foreign in her mouth. You will get used to it, Marcus said. He closed the laptop, looked at her with those ice blue eyes. Tell me about your father. Oui, ma, because I want to know what kind of man raises a daughter who can crack codes in 60 seconds. Elena was quiet for a long moment. Outside the window, clouds passed like ghosts. He was brilliant, Elena said finally. MIT graduate, statistician. He could see patterns in anything, stock markets, weather, human behavior. He made a lot of money consulting for hedge funds. But he thought he could beat the casinos. Thought his math was better than their math. Turns out the house does not need better math. It just needs time. Marcus nodded. My father was the same. Not with gambling, with trust. He thought he could read people. Thought he knew who was loyal and who was not. Turns out trust is just another form of gambling. And the house always wins. How did he die? Elena asked. Officially? Heart attack. Unofficially? Someone very close to him decided it was time for new management. You think he was killed? I know he was killed, Marcus said. His voice was flat, empty of emotion. I just do not know who yet. That is one of the things the Sanctum Ledger will tell me. Once we unlock all the layers, how many layers are there? I do not know. My father loved puzzles, loved testing people. This whole thing might have 5 levels, might have 50, but each one leads to something. Documents, money, secrets, power. And you trust me to help you find it, Elena said. Marcus looked at her, really looked, like he was deciding something important. I trust your brain, he said. Whether I trust you as a person? Ask me again in a month. Fair enough, Elena said. They landed at Teterboro just after 5 in the morning. The sky was beginning to lighten in the east, that pale gray that comes before dawn. The helicopter was waiting, sleek and black like an insect made of metal. Elena climbed in, put on the headset, felt the machine lift off the ground and her stomach drop into her feet. They flew east toward the Atlantic, toward the Hamptons, where people had summer homes worth more than entire neighborhoods in Chicago, where hedge fund managers and celebrities and people like Marcus Donovan kept properties they visited twice a year. The glass house appeared as the sun broke the horizon. It sat on the edge of a cliff overlooking the ocean, all sharp angles and transparent walls. Modernist architecture that looked like it had been designed by someone who wanted to live inside a sculpture. Beautiful, Elena whispered. Dangerous, Marcus corrected. My father did not build beautiful things. He built traps disguised as beautiful things. The helicopter landed on a pad carved into the cliff. Garrett stayed with the pilot. Marcus led Elena to the front door, heavy, steel, industrial. He handed her an iron key, old-fashioned, the kind that belonged in a Gothic novel. You open it, Marcus said. Why me? Because if it is booby-trapped, I would prefer you trigger it. You are a real gentleman, Elena said. But she took the key, slid it into the lock, turned it, felt tumblers fall into place with heavy clicks. The door swung open on silent hinges. Inside was emptiness. No furniture, no art, no sign anyone had ever lived here. Just polished concrete floors and glass walls and the sound of waves crashing against rocks far below. It is empty, Marcus said. His voice echoed. Another dead end. No, Elena said. She stayed by the door. Her eyes scanned the room, not looking at it like a space, looking at it like a problem. The floor was made of large concrete squares, perfect grid, 8 by 8. The walls were panels of glass from floor to ceiling, and the sun was rising, light streaming through the eastern wall, casting long shadows across the floor. The time, Elena said suddenly. What? The coordinates in the ledger. They had a timestamp. What was it? Marcus pulled out his phone. 1842 hours, 6:42 p.m. Elena checked her cheap digital watch. It is 6:38 right now. 4 minutes. 4 minutes until what? She walked into the center of the room, studied the way light hit the glass. There, on the western wall, a tiny imperfection in the glass, almost invisible. Could be a scratch, could be deliberate. Stand there, Elena said. She pointed to a specific concrete square. Excuse me? Marcus raised an eyebrow. Do you want to find what your father hid or not? Stand on that square. Marcus looked at her for a long moment. Then he moved to the square she indicated. Now what? We wait. They stood in silence. The sun climbed, light shifted. The angle changed degree by degree. Elena watched the shadows move across the floor like the hands of a massive clock. At exactly 6:42, the beam of sunlight passing through the imperfection in the glass hit the square where Marcus stood. But it did not just hit the floor. It hit the diamond ring on his right hand. Family signet, heavy gold. Stone the size of a thumbnail. The light refracted through the diamond, split into a rainbow prism. Hit a sensor hidden in the far wall that looked like a thermostat. Click. A low rumble shook the entire house. Marcus stepped back fast, hand moving toward the weapon Elena knew he carried. The center of the concrete floor began to descend. Hydraulic lift. Slow. Controlled. Revealing stairs that led down into darkness. It was not a digital lock, Elena said quietly. Solar alignment. Like Stonehenge. Your father really did not trust technology. He was paranoid, Marcus said, but he looked at Elena with something like respect. How did you know? The timestamp. The glass house on a cliff facing the ocean. The specific coordinates. He designed it so the solution only works at one exact time. 6:42 p.m. when the sun hits that angle. Any other time and the door stays locked. Clever, Marcus said. Paranoid, Elena corrected, but effective. They descended the stairs into cool darkness. Motion sensors triggered lights as they moved. Industrial fluorescent, harsh and revealing. The basement was a server farm, rows and rows of hard drives and processors, blinking lights like stars, cables running along the ceiling in neat bundles, the hum of cooling fans and electricity. This is it, Marcus said. His voice carried reverence. Awe, the Black Archive. 50 years of leverage, every dirty deal, every bribe, every secret the Donovan family collected. He moved to the main terminal, started typing. Elena hung back. Something felt wrong. Her eyes scanned the room. The servers were arranged in a U-shape. The wiring ran in parallel bundles along the ceiling. Blue cable, red cable, yellow cable, blue, red, yellow, blue, red, yellow. Pattern repeating. Then in the corner, blue, red, red. The pattern broke. Marcus, Elena said. Her voice came out tight. Not now, Marcus replied. He was focused on the screen. Bypassing security protocols. Marcus stopped typing. Elena, I am almost through the firewall. Marcus, stop, Elena screamed. The wiring, it is not a server farm. It is a circuit. Marcus froze. His finger hovered over the enter key. What are you talking about? Elena pointed at the corner, at the place where the pattern changed. Look, the cabling, data transmission cables follow specific color codes. Blue for network, red for power, yellow for redundancy. The pattern should be consistent. She moved closer. Saw the faint blinking red light hidden behind the wire bundle. That is not data wiring. That is detonator wiring. C4, this is not a vault, Marcus. It is a bomb. Marcus stared at the corner, saw what she saw. His face went pale. A kill switch, he whispered. If I access the data, it triggers detonation. My father did not build this to store power. He built it to bury anyone greedy enough to try and take it. We need to leave, Elena said. Now. The hydraulic lift groaned. Started rising. Without them on it. Marcus grabbed his radio. Garrett, bring the lift down. Static. Then a voice that was not Garrett's. Smooth. Cultured. Amused. Sorry, Marcus. Garrett is currently indisposed. Permanently. Marcus went very still. The kind of stillness that came before violence. Lawrence, he said. Lawrence Blackwood. The family lawyer. The executor of the will. The man who had hired the 25 experts. His voice came through speakers hidden in the ceiling. You were never supposed to crack the code, Marcus. You were supposed to fail. Assets would revert to the estate. To me, I would liquidate everything. Disappear. Live like a king in a country without extradition. Marcus said nothing, just stared at the sealed blast doors, calculation behind his eyes. But then you brought in that clever little waitress, Lawrence continued. Too smart for her own good. She led you right into Daddy's grave. How poetic. You killed him, Marcus said, not a question. A statement. He was old, weak, sentimental. You are just a thug in an expensive suit. Goodbye, Marcus. Give my regards to hell. The speakers clicked off. A digital timer on the wall lit up. 5 minutes, 299 seconds. Counting down. 5 minutes, Marcus said. He looked at the blast doors. Solid steel. He pulled his gun, fired 3 rounds at the control panel. Sparks flew. Metal screamed. The door did not budge. He threw his shoulder against it. Nothing. Threw it again. The door might as well have been part of the cliff. For the first time since Elena met him, Marcus Donovan looked helpless. He slid down the wall, sat on the cold concrete floor, looked at her with eyes that had accepted death. I am sorry, he said quietly. I dragged you into this. You should be pouring coffee in Chicago. Elena stood in the center of the room. Panic clawed at her throat. Hands shaking, heart racing, 220 beats per minute. Tachycardia. Adrenaline overdose. But the numbers were still there. The patterns, the logic underneath the chaos. Shut up, she said. Marcus looked up, startled. I said, shut up. I cannot hear the pattern when you are pitying yourself. She walked to the wall of servers, ripped the access panel off with her bare hands. Wires spilled out like intestines. Lawrence thinks this is a simple trap, Elena muttered. Her hands moved fast, tracing wire paths, following circuits, but he is a lawyer. He hired someone to rig this, someone who knows explosives but not necessarily elegant engineering. She grabbed wire cutters from a maintenance kit on the floor. Every system has logic, she continued. Even a bomb, timer connected to server boot sequence. If servers shut down, the bomb detonates. If timer reaches 0, the bomb detonates. Classic dual trigger. So we are dead either way, Marcus said. No, Elena said. We create a loop, an infinite loop. Make the computer think it is constantly rebooting but never finishing. Freeze the timer between seconds. She looked at Marcus, saw his belt, expensive leather, silver Hermes buckle. I need that, she said. My belt? The buckle. I need to bridge a circuit. Marcus ripped his belt off, threw it to her. Elena caught it, jammed the silver buckle between two exposed copper contacts on the server motherboard. Sparks showered over her hands. She flinched but held it in place. Type, she yelled. What do I type? Marcus scrambled to the keyboard. Fibonacci sequence in reverse, fast. Marcus's fingers flew, training kicking in, following orders without question. 21, 13, 8, 5, 3, 2, 1, 1. Enter, Elena screamed. Marcus hit the key. The room went black. Every light, every screen. The hum of servers died. Silence fell like a curtain. Elena closed her eyes, waiting for fire, waiting for the end. Her life flashing before her eyes, except there was nothing to flash. Just poverty and debt and invisible years serving people who never saw her. 1 second, 2, 3, 4, 5. Nothing. Emergency lights flickered on. Red, bathing everything in the color of blood. The timer was frozen. 01, 1 second. The moment between life and death. The bomb was dormant. Elena let go of the belt buckle, collapsed onto the floor, gasping. Her hands were burned, red welts across her palms. Her uniform was ruined, sweat and soot in the smell of burned electronics. She was shaking uncontrollably. Marcus crawled to her across the red-lit floor, grabbed her face in both hands, and kissed her. Not gentle, desperate. The taste of survival and adrenaline and sudden realization. His mouth on hers, his hands in her hair, like she was oxygen and he had been drowning. He pulled back, forehead resting against hers, both of them breathing hard. You did not just solve the puzzle, Marcus whispered, his voice rough, raw. You saved my life. Elena swallowed. Her voice shook. I just wanted the 20,000. Marcus laughed, genuine, jagged, the sound of a man who thought he was dead and discovered he was alive. You are going to get a lot more than that, he said. He stood, offered his hand, she took it, let him pull her to her feet. Now let's get out of here, Marcus said. I have a lawyer to kill. They found the manual hydraulic override. A wheel rusted from disuse. Marcus strained against it, muscles corded, suit jacket tearing at the shoulders. The wheel turned, inch by inch. The platform began to rise. 5 minutes to climb back to the glass house. 5 minutes that felt like hours. Elena's hands throbbed, her head pounded, but she was alive. They emerged into the glass house. Night had fallen. The Atlantic stretched black and infinite beyond the windows. The helicopter still waited on the pad, but the pilot was gone. Garrett's body was gone. They were alone. He left us, Marcus said. He lowered his weapon. Lawrence did not send a crew. He thinks we are ghosts, stranded while he takes over everything. Elena looked at the helicopter, at Marcus, at the impossible situation. Can you fly that? She asked. Marcus smiled. It was not a nice smile. It was the smile of a predator who just realized the hunt was not over. I can fly anything, he said. Get in! They climbed into the cockpit. Marcus's hands moved over controls with practiced ease. The rotors began to turn, slow at first, then faster, then a roar that shook the night. Where are we going? Elena shouted over the headset. New York, Marcus said. Lawrence is hosting a gala tonight at the Met. Victory lap. He is going to announce the merger of my assets with his shell companies. All the families will be there, senators, press, everyone who matters. We are going to a party? Elena asked. We are going to a funeral, Marcus corrected. His. The helicopter lifted off, left the glass house behind, left the tomb that almost became their grave. Elena looked down at the dark Atlantic, at the cliff, at how close they had come to dying in that basement. 24 hours ago, her biggest fear had been a declined debit card. Tonight, she had defused a bomb with a belt buckle and survived a betrayal that should have killed her. Her hands were burned, her clothes were ruined, her old life was ashes. But she was alive, and flying towards something that felt like destiny, or revenge, or maybe both. Marcus banked the helicopter toward the glow of New York City on the horizon, toward Lawrence Blackwood, toward the end of this chapter and the beginning of something else. Elena closed her eyes, felt the vibration of the rotors, the pull of acceleration, the weight of what came next. She had stopped being invisible. had stopped being the ghost who wiped tables. Somewhere between the Velvet Lounge and this helicopter, Elena Hart had become someone else. Someone dangerous. Someone valuable. Someone Marcus Donovan kissed like she was the only thing keeping him alive. She did not know what happened next, did not know if they would survive the night, but she knew one thing with absolute certainty. There was no going back, not to poverty, not to invisibility, not to the life where genius rotted in cages made of debt. Forward was the only direction left, toward New York, toward confrontation, toward whatever came after you stopped being invisible and became someone people could not look away from. The helicopter cut through the night, and Elena Hart flew toward her future with burned hands and a racing heart and the taste of Marcus Donovan still on her lips. The flight to Manhattan took 40 minutes. 40 minutes of darkness and roaring engines and the lights of the eastern seaboard spreading below like a circuit board come to life. Elena pressed her forehead against the window, watched the world pass beneath her. Small towns, highways, the glow of civilization pushing back against the night. Her hands throbbed. The burns from the electrical contact had raised blisters across her palms, red and angry, but she did not care. Pain meant she was alive. Pain meant she had won. Marcus flew with a kind of reckless precision that suggested he had done this before. Cut through airspace that should have required clearance. Used codes he should not have known. The helicopter responded to his touch like an extension of his body. They did not speak. There was nothing to say. Words felt inadequate for what had happened in that basement, for the moment when death had been 1 second away, for the kiss that tasted like survival. The Manhattan skyline rose ahead. Towers of glass and steel reaching toward the stars, lights in windows where people lived normal lives, where the biggest crisis was a missed deadline or a broken relationship. Not bombs, not betrayal, not flying a stolen helicopter toward a confrontation that might end in bullets. "Where do we land?" Elena asked through the headset. "Upper East Side," Marcus replied. "I have a building, helipad on the roof, one of the few properties Lawrence does not know about. You have a lot of secrets. I am my father's son. Secrets kept us alive. Mostly. The building appeared, residential tower, expensive, even by Manhattan standards. Marcus brought the helicopter down with practiced ease, skids touching concrete with barely a bump. The rotors began to slow. They climbed out into cold November air. Wind whipped across the rooftop. 20 stories up. The city spread in all directions. Infinite and indifferent. A door opened. A man emerged. Older, 60 maybe. Gray hair, expensive suit. He looked at Marcus and his face split into a smile. "Marcus Donovan, I thought you were dead." The news said helicopter crash in the Hamptons. "Very tragic. Very final." "Premature obituary," Marcus said. "Victor, I need clothes. 2 sets. One for me, one for her. We need to look presentable." The man named Victor looked at Elena, at her burned hands and ruined uniform, and the soot on her face. His expression did not change. 10 minutes, Victor said. He disappeared back through the door. Elena looked at Marcus. "Who is he?" "Someone who owes me more than he can ever repay. Someone I trust. One of maybe 3 people in this city." "What happened to Garrett?" "Dead. Lawrence killed him or had him killed. Either way, he is gone." "I am sorry." "Do not be. Garrett knew the risks. He chose this life. Just like I did. Just like you are choosing it now. I did not choose anything," Elena said. "You dragged me into this." Marcus turned to look at her, really look. His ice blue eyes caught the city lights and reflected them back like mirrors. "You chose the moment you opened your mouth at the Velvet Lounge. You could have stayed quiet, stayed invisible. But you did not. You spoke up. That was a choice, Elena. Own it." She wanted to argue, wanted to say he was wrong. But deep down she knew he was right. She had chosen, had seen the pattern and could not stay silent. That was her curse, her gift, the thing that made invisibility impossible. Victor returned with garment bags, handed one to Marcus, one to Elena. "Bathroom is through there," Victor said to Elena. "First aid kit in the cabinet. Bandage those hands." The bathroom was marble and chrome, spotless. Elena looked at herself in the mirror, barely recognized the woman staring back. Soot-streaked face, wild hair, eyes that had seen too much in too short a time. She washed, carefully. The burns screamed when water touched them. She wrapped them in gauze from the first aid kit, then opened the garment bag. Inside was a dress, black, simple, elegant, probably cost more than she used to make in 6 months. She put it on. It fit perfectly. How Victor had known her size was a question she did not want answered. There were shoes, heels, not too high. She could run in them if she needed to. That felt important somehow. She looked at herself again. The waitress was gone. The woman in the mirror looked dangerous. Capable. Someone who defused bombs and flew in helicopters and kissed mafia bosses. She barely recognized herself. That felt appropriate. When she emerged, Marcus was waiting. He had changed too. Black tuxedo, white shirt, no tie. He looked like he was going to the opera or a funeral. Maybe both. He looked at her. Something passed across his face. Too fast to name. You clean up well, he said. So do you. Victor handed Marcus a phone. Tablet. Small earpiece. Everything you asked for, Victor said. The data is queued, ready to broadcast. Just hit send when you are ready to burn his world down. Thank you, Victor. Do not thank me yet. You might be dead in an hour. Then I will thank you from hell. They took a car. Black sedan, anonymous. Driver who did not speak and did not ask questions. Drove them through Manhattan streets toward the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Elena had never been to the Met, had seen pictures, heard stories, but never actually walked through those doors. It existed in the same category as private jets and penthouses. Things for other people, not for waitresses drowning in debt. The museum appeared, massive, illuminated. Stairs leading up to columns that looked like they belonged in ancient Rome. Limousines lined the street 3 deep, paparazzi flashbulbs popping like fireworks. Beautiful people in beautiful clothes ascending toward beautiful lies. This is insane, Elena said. We cannot just walk in there. Watch me, Marcus replied. The car stopped 2 blocks away. Marcus and Elena got out, started walking. Not toward the main entrance, toward a side door, service entrance, the kind of door invisible people used. Marcus knocked 3 times, specific rhythm. The door opened. A security guard looked out, saw Marcus, went pale. Mr. Donovan, we were told you were. Dead, Marcus finished. Premature. Step aside. The guard did. They walked through into the service corridors beneath the museum. Concrete and fluorescent lights. The skeleton beneath the beautiful skin. Where are we going? Elena asked. The Temple of Dender. That is where Lawrence is hosting his victory party, making speeches, announcing his grand merger, taking credit for everything my father built. And we are going to stop him. We are going to destroy him. They climbed stairs, emerged into the museum proper. Galleries filled with art worth more than countries, but empty now. The gala was focused in one location. All the wealth and power concentrated like a tumor. Elena could hear it. Music, voices, laughter, the sound of people who believed themselves untouchable. Marcus stopped, turned to her, reached into his jacket, pulled out the tablet. When we go in there, I need you to do exactly what I say. Do not hesitate. Do not second guess. Just act. Can you do that? Elena looked at the tablet, at Marcus, at the choice in front of her. Yes, she said, I can do that. Good. Marcus handed her the tablet. When I give the signal, you hit send. Everything Lawrence has done, every crime, every bribe, every murder, it all goes public. 3 projection screens, 500 witnesses, the press, senators, everyone who matters. This will start a war. This will end one, Marcus corrected. My way, on my terms. He kissed her forehead, quick, almost gentle, then turned and walked toward the sound of the party. Elena followed. The Temple of Dendur was spectacular. Ancient Egyptian architecture reconstructed inside a glass pavilion. Reflecting pool, sandstone glowing under carefully placed lights, and surrounding it 500 people dressed in tuxedos and gowns, drinking champagne, eating canapes, playing at civilization while the real world burned outside. Lawrence Blackwood stood on a raised platform in front of the temple, 60 years old, silver hair. Midnight blue velvet tuxedo that probably cost more than a car. He held a champagne flute. His voice carried across the space. Smooth, cultured. The voice of a man who had won. To the future, Lawrence projected. For too long, the Donovan organization has been mired in the past, in brute force and crude methods. But tonight, we turn a page. We embrace efficiency. We embrace. The heavy doors at the far end of the hall did not open. They exploded inward. Not literally, but the sound was like an explosion, metal slamming against stone. The crack echoed through the space like thunder. 500 heads turned. Marcus Donovan walked in, and he looked like war given human form. His tuxedo was perfect, but his face was not. Smudged with soot, cut on his cheek from flying glass, eyes burning with cold fury. He radiated violence, danger, the promise of consequences. And beside him walked Elena, matching his stride, not behind, not following, bisid buen, equal, her chin high, her burned hands steady, looking at the crowd not with fear, but with the analytical detachment of a scientist examining bacteria. The collective gasp sucked oxygen from the room. Not just surprise, horror, because Marcus Donovan was supposed to be dead. His helicopter was supposed to be wreckage at the bottom of the Atlantic. But here he was, walking through their party like a ghost returning to haunt the living. Lawrence dropped his champagne glass, crystal shattered on marble. The sound cut through the silence like a scream. "I think you forgot my invitation, Lawrence," Marcus called out. His voice was not loud, did not need to be. It carried, filled the space, commanded attention the way gravity commanded falling objects. "Security!" Lawrence screamed, his composure shattered. "Remove them! They are trespassers. He is unhinged, dangerous." 4 security guards started moving forward, hands reaching for weapons concealed beneath expensive jackets. Elena stepped forward, held up the tablet like a shield. "Stop," she yelled, not a scream, a command. "I would not do that, unless you want every text message you sent to your mistresses uploaded to Times Square right now." The guards hesitated, looked at the tablet, looked at each other, looked at Lawrence. "You are bluffing," Lawrence said, but his voice cracked. "You have nothing. That data is encrypted." "My experts said it was mathematically impossible to crack." Marcus smiled, cold, predatory. "You hired technicians, Lawrence. I hired a composer." He nodded to Elena. "Play the music." Elena tapped the screen. Her burned fingers moved with certainty despite the pain. The tablet connected to the museum's wireless network. Found the projection system. Overrode security protocols that probably cost a fortune to install. 3 massive screens meant for Lawrence's tribute video flickered, went black, then lit up with text. "System override. Source sanctum cipher. Access granted." The left screen filled with bank transactions. Black text on white background. Dates, amounts, names. Lawrence Blackwood to Judge Morrison, $500,000. Subject dismissal of racketeering charges against Donovan Organization. Lawrence Blackwood to Deputy Mayor Chen, $1.2 million. Subject warehouse district zoning permit approval. Lawrence Blackwood to Senator Williams, $800,000. Subject vote against organized crime task force funding. The list went on, scrolling, endless. Years of corruption displayed in cold numbers. The right screen showed photographs, high definition, time-stamped. Lawrence meeting with men in expensive suits, handing over briefcases, shaking hands in parking garages and empty warehouses, and one photograph larger than the rest. Lawrence with a man whose face was known to everyone in that room, the man who planted the car bomb that killed Marcus's father. The center screen showed a spreadsheet. Title in bold, liquidation assets. Line 1, Marcus Donovan. Status pending. Line 2, Senator Williams. Status pending. Line 3, Senator Rodriguez. Status pending. Line 4, Judge Morrison. Status pending. The room erupted, not all at once, but in waves. First, the senators seeing their names on a kill list, screaming for their security details. Then the judge trying to run for the exit, slipping on spilled champagne, crashing into a table, caviar and shrimp flying everywhere. Reporters who had been covering the gala as a puff piece suddenly realized they had a real story. Cameras came out. Phones started recording. The feeding frenzy began. Lawrence stood frozen in the center of the chaos, his empire dissolving into pixels in panic around him. His face had gone from confident to confused to terrified in the span of 30 seconds. "No," he whispered, then louder. "No, this is fabricated, deep fake, digital manipulation. None of this is real." But everyone in that room knew it was real. The level of detail, the specificity, the dates that matched known events. This was not fabrication. This was evidence, documentation, proof. Lawrence reached into his tuxedo jacket. His hand came out holding a sleek silver pistol. Compact, expensive, the kind of weapon men like Lawrence bought and never thought they would actually use. He did not care about prison anymore, did not care about consequences. He just wanted to erase the problem. Shoot the ghost. Make Marcus Donovan actually dead this time. "Die," Lawrence screamed. He raised the gun, aimed at Marcus's chest. Center mass, the way someone taught him at a shooting range where the targets did not shoot back. Elena saw it happening, saw the angle of his arm, saw the distance, 15 feet, saw the trajectory, saw Marcus standing still, accepting, like he had expected this, like dying at a gala was just another Tuesday. Her brain calculated without conscious thought. Weight of tablet, aerodynamics, rotation, probability of impact, 92%. She threw the tablet like a frisbee. All the force of desperation and adrenaline, and refusing to watch someone die when she could do something about it. The tablet spun through the air, end over end, caught the light, looked almost beautiful. It hit Lawrence's hand just as his finger squeezed the trigger. The gunshot was deafening in the enclosed space, but the bullet went wide. Shattered a priceless Greek vase behind Marcus. 2,000 years of history destroyed in a microsecond. The gun clattered to the marble floor. Before Lawrence could dive for it, Marcus was there. Not running, walking, controlled, deliberate. He grabbed Lawrence by the throat, lifted him off the ground. Lawrence's feet kicked at air. His hands clawed at Marcus's wrist, but Marcus's grip was iron. "You wanted the family business," Marcus whispered, his voice low, intimate. Only Lawrence could hear. "This is the business. It is not spreadsheets and mergers. It is blood. It is consequence. And you do not have the stomach for it." He threw Lawrence to the ground. Not hard enough to kill, just hard enough to break something. Lawrence landed badly, his arm bent at an angle that made people look away. "FBI!" a voice shouted. "Everybody down!" Windows that looked like walls shattered inward. SWAT teams rappelled from the ceiling, came through side doors. Laser sights danced through the smoke and confusion like red fireflies. They had been waiting, Elena realized. Marcus had called them, had given them everything before even entering the building. The confrontation was theater. The real trap had already been sprung. Lawrence was tackled by 3 agents. Hands cuffed behind his back despite his screaming about broken bones and police brutality and lawyers. The guests were herded toward exits, separated, questioned. The senators and judges whose names appeared on the kill list were pulled aside. Their nights were about to get much worse. And in the center of it all stood Marcus Donovan, lighting a cigarette despite being inside a museum, despite federal agents everywhere. Because what were they going to do? Arrest the man who just handed them the biggest organized crime case in 20 years? Elena stood beside him, the architect of the chaos. The invisible waitress who had stopped being invisible and become something else entirely. Flashbulbs popped. Cameras captured the image. The photograph that would be on the front page of every newspaper in the country tomorrow morning. Marcus Donovan and Elena Hart, standing in the ruins of the old order, building something new from the ashes. 2 hours later, the adrenaline finally drained away, left behind bone-deep exhaustion. They sat on the museum steps outside. The November air was cold but clean. Police had taken statements. Marcus's lawyers had arrived. The kind of lawyers who made problems disappear and charged enough to buy houses for the privilege. "You threw the tablet," Marcus said. He leaned back against the stone steps, looked up at the star barely visible through the light pollution. "I calculated trajectory," Elena lied. "Knew it would hit his radial nerve." Marcus laughed. "Genuine? You panicked and chucked a computer at his head. Most beautiful thing I have ever seen." Elena started laughing too, could not help it. Started as a giggle, turned into something close to crying, all the fear and tension and impossibility of the last 24 hours pouring out. Marcus put his arm around her, pulled her close, anchored her to something solid. Did not tell her it was okay. Did not offer meaningless comfort. Just held her. "You are free now," Marcus said after a while, his voice quiet. "The debt is gone. I transferred $5 million to an account in your name. Offshore. Untraceable. You can go anywhere, do anything. MIT will take you back if you ask. Cambridge. Stanford. You never have to see me again." Elena pulled back, looked at him, really looked. At the man who had trusted her when experts failed, who had come back for her in the basement when he could have run. Who kissed her like she was the only thing keeping him alive. She thought about her old life, the peeling wallpaper, the smell of stale coffee, the crushing weight of invisible years serving people who never saw her. Then she thought about the last 24 hours, solving puzzles that mattered, using her brain for something other than calculating tips, being seen, being valued, being someone other than furniture. "I do not want to go to Cambridge," Elena said. "No?" Marcus raised an eyebrow. "What do you want?" "I want a job. The consultant position is yours. 20,000 a month, I already promised. No, Elena said. She stood up, brushed imaginary dust off her dress, looked down at the Mafia boss sitting on museum steps like a college student. I unlocked a $3 billion empire for you tonight. Saved your life twice. Once from a bomb, once from a bullet. I do not want a salary. Marcus stared at her. Something like surprise crossed his face. Then respect. Then something that might have been the beginning of love if either of them knew what that looked like. What do you want, he asked. Equity, Elena said. 50%. The silence stretched. A taxi honked somewhere in the distance. Sirens wailed. The city continued not caring about their negotiation. 50%, Marcus repeated slowly. You are trying to negotiate a hostile takeover of the Donovan family. I am not negotiating, Elena said. I am telling you the price of admission. You need a brain, Marcus. I need chaos. We are better together than apart. So, 50%. Partner, equal. Or I walk away right now and you figure out the rest of the Sanctum cipher alone. Marcus stood up, tall enough that she had to look up to meet his eyes. He extended his hand. Partner, he said. Partner, she replied. She took his hand. His grip was warm, strong, certain. They shook once, formal, binding, a contract written in handshakes and shared survival. Then Marcus pulled her close, kissed her. Not desperate this time. Not the frantic kiss of people who thought they were about to die. This was different, deliberate, a promise, a beginning. He kissed her on the steps of the Met with police lights flashing red and blue, with reporters trying to get close enough for photographs, with the wreckage of Lawrence's empire scattered around them like confetti. This was the seal on the most dangerous partnership in New York City. Maybe the country, a mafia boss and a former waitress. Ice and fire, violence and genius, together. When they finally pulled apart, Marcus smiled, really smiled, the kind that transformed his face, made him look young, almost innocent. Welcome to the family business, he said. Elena looked at the city, at the lights stretching to the horizon, at the infinite possibilities spreading before her like a map waiting to be explored. The waitress was gone, the invisible girl who wiped tables and calculated tip percentages. That person had died somewhere between Chicago and the Hamptons, between the cipher and the bomb and the bullet that went wide. In her place stood someone new, someone dangerous, someone who negotiated for 50% and got it, someone Marcus Donovan called partner. Elena Hart, cipher queen, problem solver, co-owner of an empire built on secrets and violence and the kind of power most people never even glimpsed. She did not know what came next, did not know if this partnership would last a year or a decade or the rest of their lives, did not know if they would destroy each other or build something beautiful from the broken pieces. But she knew one thing with absolute certainty. She was done being invisible, done apologizing for being smart, done making herself small so other people felt big. From now on, people would see her coming, would know her name, would understand that the woman standing next to Marcus Donovan was not decoration or assistant or hired help. She was the one who saw patterns no one else could see, who diffused bombs with belt buckles and threw tablets at armed men and demanded equity instead of salary. She was Elena Hart, and the world was about to learn what that meant. Marcus offered his arm. She took it. Together they walked down the museum steps, past the police, past the reporters, past the wreckage of the old order, toward the car waiting at the curb, toward whatever came next, toward a future that belonged to them because they took it, because they refused to accept the roles the world assigned them. The driver opened the door. Marcus and Elena climbed in. The door closed. The car pulled away from the curb, merged into Manhattan traffic, became just another pair of headlights in the endless river of light. Behind them, the Metropolitan Museum of Art blazed with police activity. Federal agents swarmed. Reporters filed stories that would dominate news cycles for weeks. The elite who had attended the gala scrambled to distance themselves from Lawrence Blackwood. Lawyers prepared defenses. Prosecutors prepared cases. The old world was ending. A new world was being born. And at the center of it all, in a car driving through Manhattan, Marcus Donovan and Elena Hart sat in comfortable silence. Partners, equals. Two people who had looked death in the face and refused to blink. Marcus took her hand, the one with the burned palm, held it gently. Thank you, he said, simply. For what? For seeing the pattern, for speaking up, for not staying invisible. Elena squeezed his hand. You are welcome. The car drove through the night, Past buildings filled with sleeping people who would wake up tomorrow to a different world. Past streets where the invisible walked and worked and survived. Past everything Elena used to be. She leaned her head against Marcus's shoulder, felt his arm wrap around her. Solid, real. Proof that the last 24 hours had actually happened, that she had not imagined it all. "Where are we going?" she asked. "Home," Marcus said. "My home. Our home now, I suppose. If you want it, I want it." "Good." The car turned onto Park Avenue, headed uptown, toward penthouses and doormen and the kind of life Elena had only seen in movies. Her new life, her new world. She closed her eyes, not sleeping, just resting, letting the exhaustion wash over her. Tomorrow would bring new puzzles, new challenges, new layers of the Sanctum cipher to unlock. But tonight she had won, had solved the impossible, had survived, had demanded her worth and received it. Tonight, Elena Hart was exactly where she belonged, not serving coffee, not wiping tables, not invisible. She was in the back of a car with a dangerous man who called her partner, with burned hands and a racing heart and the taste of victory still sharp on her tongue. She was free. She was powerful. She was seen. And for the first time in 7 years, Elena Hart smiled and meant it. The car drove on through the Manhattan night, carrying two people toward their future, a future they would build together. One puzzle at a time, one pattern at a time, one impossible problem solved after another. The waitress was gone, the queen had arrived, and the world had better get ready